The alternative is even worse, because if you keep that relationship, both parties will suffer. Yes. So the plan is to go with a threefold discussion. We start with hiring. The next one is how to promote and how to evaluate when someone needs to be promoted or not in a job position. And the last one is firing. Let's come down to the least desirable topic. I guess this is for all entrepreneurs, for employees as well. But how easy is it for you to fire someone? Let's start it like this, and then let's talk more about the firing process.
Firing is always something people want to preferably hide themselves before they have to look someone in the face and say, hey, I have to let you go. It's always just like breaking up a relationship, or it's basically breaking up a relationship. And it's never easy. And if it comes easy, I would also question if you're
a good person.
Yeah, maybe even that, but it would feel very, very weird if that comes easy. Nevertheless, I think you should fire really fast if it's the time. I've done so. The most firing mistakes were because people lingered for too long. I just didn't cut the ties. Most of the time, I didn't cut the ties early enough because I thought then the business will suffer, etc. And sometimes also because I don't want the discussion right now. I'm gonna hang on for another month and maybe it will improve. It hardly ever does. Just fire that person.
Harder. Yeah.
And yes, just fire that person, and then let's talk in a second about how to do that well. But I think the most important thing is to realize once that's the right choice, you have to go to make that choice and to communicate that choice really quickly. There is no waiting around. There's no perfect time. There's no something. Of course, you can wait a few days or 2 weeks or so because that's the better time because of whatever reason. Don't wait for 2 months. It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And it's usually vastly overblown how important people are. If they are not good for that position, if they are toxic to the company culture, it's better to just let them go right away. What I like to do is so the worst firings are those that come unexpected.
Okay.
So if the person just doesn't know, and that's very clear, that's on me. If that happens, I made a mistake. Because it is just fair, just like in any relationship, to once you realize something is off, to look and talk to the other person.
Agreed.
And say, hey, listen, I think we are heading into the wrong direction. Let's talk. And then the most important question is, what do you need to succeed? So not saying, I want you to do this, but it's the first thing then is to actually listen. So it's just like football. First, you pull a yellow card. The person stays on the pitch, is not sent off. And once things don't improve, person does it again or whatever, performance doesn't improve, then the red card comes. So it's really that yellow card is really important. If you have that discussion and have it very clear, listen, it won't work out if you do not improve. Then the person already knows, I'm on notice kind of here. It's not going to work out well. So I really need to improve. If the improvements don't come, and then it's important to we together discuss what really needs to improve and what would be the requirements to stay on the team and what would be the requirements to not stay on the team. And then very quickly, the person will realize it would be great if, so in Germany, we have a 6-month trial period that you talk after 2 or 3 months. If you say, okay, this person is on notice, that then, and the latest after 6 months, but sometimes also after 4 months, you just say, okay, this won't work out, fire fast, get them out of the door. Usually, the other people in the team will also notice. They will be demotivated. It will be just not great for culture. They will pick up the work that person left behind, etc. A lot of things.
It will be a mess.
Exactly. A lot of things that come into play. Take that person off. It's much harder if that person is 3 years with the company and then you have to make that decision. is a much harder choice. In the trial period, it's something which can well be done. Yellow card, red card, and that's basically it. Always do it with heart. I think that's what my approach is, but be super clear. So if I would then have the final discussion, so you have the yellow card discussion, it doesn't improve, then you have the final discussion. I usually schedule it fairly immediately. Say, do you have time to talk? Let's talk. I don't want to have it lingered on the calendar
That's a
for
very
next week or
dreadful
something.
question. Do you have time to talk? That's a really scary question, isn't it?
I know, but it's basically ripping the band-aid off right away, right?
Yeah.
And also sometimes happens right, to just say, okay, can we just quickly discuss something? As we are mostly remote, I usually do it with a camera. I think it's just a respectful way to actually do it. I would go right in. I would say, hey, listen, I think this isn't working out. I think we have to terminate our working relationship. And then you can explain whatever needs to be explained, but rip the band-aid off right away. Give that person time. No apologies
Mm.
for like, sorry, I have to let you go. No, I have to let you go. And you can apologize for something like, hey, I should have said it earlier, or whatever, if something is wrong,
Sure.
but not for letting someone go, because it should have been the right process anyway, in the terms of, hey, you knew we had an agreement, it didn't work out. Let's finish this, or let's terminate this. Let's terminate it in such a way. This is the best termination, I think, that we could potentially grab a drink at a bar somewhere and still kind of
And
talk to
that's
each other.
very tough to
That's
happen.
I know, but
Very
that's
unlikely.
with many people, maybe even so certainly more than 50%, maybe probably even more than 80% of the people that I had to let go. That's still possible. So I would just often you don't see them anymore, but sometimes you meet them, and I just want to have a good relationship with the people,
Absolutely.
because then we circle back to hiring. They are going to talk about you. They're going to talk about you. Are you a good employer or not? And then on platforms like Glassdoor, etc., they're going
Yeah.
to write that. But even without that, it's still just a good feeling. You don't have to separate ways and just burn all the bridges. You can separate ways and just say, hey, this didn't work out. But that doesn't mean that you as a person are not a good person, or that you are
Yeah.
not likable or something like that. It's very hard, but most of the time, if I have hired someone, they're actually good. They have good personality, because you get an understanding of the personality. They are not bad people, but they just were not fit for the job, and we just didn't find out in the hiring part of that whole process
Sure.
that it just didn't work out well. But splitting both, saying, hey, we need kind of something else. I understand you also want something else. You expected something different. You need more, whatever, guidance, structure, whatever it is. You cannot work independently. Remote is not your thing. Whatever the reasons are, to just say, hey, we figured this out. Then we part our ways. I wish you best of luck. If I can help you with anything, maybe make an introduction to someone or so, just ping me. So I've had a few firings, or not a few, but many firings like that, which were, and then astonishingly, often, certainly when you give the yellow card, the other person is often relieved, because they have found so much pressure and they couldn't really handle, or they couldn't live up to the expectations that
Yeah.
I just last month I had to let go of a colleague, and she of course, she was first a little bit emotional, but then she also said, hey, I thought about it, and actually you made the right choice, and I didn't have the guts to make that choice, and I'm thankful that you made that choice. And it was just, in the end, it all turned out well. So, and it's
That's an ideal outcome. But yes, I fully understand that. So I guess it all comes down to clarity of expectations. Because as in salary increases, it still comes off as, do you value my work or don't you value my work? So are you firing me because you don't value me? And that mixture of personal and professional, it's very hard to be divided by someone. And I guess if expectations are clear, the best would be for expectations to be clear right away. So since you hire someone, you set expectations. This is the goal. This is the definition of success, as we also said, or the person sets that, then it gets much easier along the way, because you either have reached your objectives or you haven't. If you don't have that in place, then it's very much a perception game, and it's the employer's perception and the employee's perception. And perception games almost always never went well. So you still need to convey clearly why the person is a not good fit, but most likely the person doesn't feel that they're not a good fit, and they feel they're doing
Yeah.
a great job, because awareness is not always the same between the manager and the employee. But if you set expectations clearly, then certainly that makes the job easier. It doesn't make the job easy. I don't think anyone has an easy job in firing people. That would be something very wrong to do. At least it always feels wrong when I have to do it. But the alternative is even worse, because if you keep that relationship, both parties will suffer. Both the person will suffer, because, as you said, they will have the pressure of doing something that for various reasons they're not able to cope with, and the company will suffer because it expects some results which most likely it will never receive from that person. So end it quickly and as clearly as possible. I fully agree that you have to be as human as possible, because in the end we are all humans and business is run by humans, and the safety, the job certainty, the finances of everyone matter. But yeah, it's definitely much better to end these relationships when necessary and to have the tough conversations. But tough conversations as a manager are very hard, right? Don't you think so?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Tough conversations are hard. Uh, but you can make it easier. Let's put it that way. And I think you can make tough conversations easier when you separate the what and the how. And then if you have a tough conversation, a conflict between people, firing someone, etc. I think it is very helpful that you separate, okay, what has to be said and how it is said. The what is important to be clear, to have examples, to make it objective, so the other person can also understand where you're coming from. At the same time, do it in a human tone, listen to the other side, really, really listen, because there's always another perspective. Have both perspectives come together. And often, if both people are actually willing, and most often that's my perception that they are, that if you hear one perspective and the other perspective, then you say, okay, I hear where the other person is actually coming from. But it gets muddled if I tell you something, the what, like, hey, I didn't like how you did XYZ, and what you perceive is the how, and I come across as aggressive
Or
and
rude? Yeah.
rude, and what you actually hear is he doesn't like me, he doesn't respect me.
Yeah.
It's a big difference, right? So if we start to take things personally,
Yeah.
and nonviolent communication is a really great framework to help with that. It really, with the how to say something. Sometimes it's too soft for managers. Sometimes
It's too
employees don't
strong.
really understand
Yeah.
the real meaning, and think it's said in a soft tone, and not it sometimes it needs to be
It looks
said
like you're
with a little.
apologizing.
Exactly. It needs to be said. So it still needs to be firm. It needs to be clear. Hey, this is serious. This is firm. But I give you. So it doesn't cost much to be kind. So be clear, set expectations, still be human, still be kind. So it's really, you can do both. And you can do, as a manager now, as a leader, you can do both really, really well. I think if we have that clear, the what and the how separate them, and stay a human, the tough conversations become a lot easier to actually handle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree. And I see the pattern in managers over and over again, that they can't really figure out what's the best way to communicate. They either go too soft and looks like they're apologizing, looks like they're doing some harm to the person, or they come too strong and they are attacking the person. They're aggressive because they are, defending the company or whatever. And it doesn't need to be either way, because it's not about how soft or how strong you come across. What's important is to talk about the expectations, to be as clear as possible, to be as concise as possible, and just be professional. So be firm, be kind. Kindness, you said, doesn't cost much. I'd say kindness is free, so it costs actually nothing. And in the end, always keep in mind that there is a human being on the other side of the table. It's not a resource. Many people and as many companies label people. Yes, you might see them as a resource if you are looking in a more abstract way of thinking, but in the end, it's a human person with dreams, with hopes, with expectations, and with uncertainties and fears. And laying someone off or firing someone doesn't really help with fears. It actually makes them more fearful because in some cases they have families, they have mouths to feed. I mean, that sucks, but again, I guess the alternative is even.
So what I would just to add to that, to as last thought, what happens after you fired someone, right?
Mm,
Um, uh, if the employer fires someone, I usually give them to, because they have uncertainty now.
mm,
I usually tell them, hey, you're fine, you're free to go. They can basically leave right away,
mm.
unless they have certain things to finish, and just to use that time to actually find a new job, paid
That's amazing.
for a certain period of time, just because it's the right thing to actually do. Right? Of course, you can say, hey, you have to work here until the last day, but especially if it's for low performance reasons, and this person has to interact with the rest of the team, often, and even with the customers, maybe you don't have the motivation there anymore. And with the rest of the team, it also feels kind of awkward.
Yeah,
But of course, they can always say bye. They can, right? So I'm not that person to just chase someone off and just that this person was never seen again.
yeah,
I've heard others doing that. That's not my style. But the best way is to, hey, finish this, and then you are free to go. We are going to pay you for this amount of time. Often it's more than is legally required,
uh-huh.
just so there is a smooth transition. And that's also the, just like hiring costs something, I think firing right, often it's not that much, but it's still, you just want to have a clean kind of good ending. You end it,
Mm.
and then that's it. My view on business is it's a big circle. Things come back to
Circular,
you.
yes.
Do it well, and yeah, just
I'd say do to people what you'd like them to do to
yeah,
you.
yeah,
So that's a great
totally agree.
framework. That's a great approach. And I mean, no one would like to just be fired on the spot. That just sucks. All right. Thank you very, very much. I guess this was a really productive conversation. I really appreciate the discussion. And yeah, let's just meet again for the next topic.
Yeah, let's do that again. And maybe people listening to this also want to leave their comments and tell us what we should talk about next.
All right. I appreciate it very, very much. Have a great one.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye bye.